Welcome back to the Love Inspired Leadership Podcast. We are here to explore how to lead with love, courage, and authenticity. I'm your host, Carolyn Cooper, and today I am so excited to share a deeply resonant conversation today with the incredible Maddie Kelley. And today's conversation truly is about choosing yourself, choosing you, even when it's hard. Oof, I just got truth bumps there. So let me introduce you to Maddie. She is a founder, strategist, and storyteller. She's the host of Mimir. Is that how you say it properly?
Mimir.
Mimir, great. And that is a top 5% globally ranked podcast where she interviews founders, investors, and experts to inspire and empower aspiring entrepreneurs. By day, she's a marketing campaign manager at Loop, which we will talk about. And by heart, she's passionate about self-discovery, entrepreneurship, and creating a fulfilling life on her own terms. Maddie has an incredible story of walking away from the company she co-founded, a moment that redefined what success means to her. And today, she's going to share what it truly looks like to live and lead in alignment with love. So, Maddie, thank you. And I am so honored and I welcome you to the Love Inspired Leadership Podcast.
Thank you so much. Wow. What an intro. I'm beaming. Thank you.
Awesome. So let's just dive right in, shall we?
Yeah.
So you're an extraordinary young woman. I mean, I met you. I was instantly connected to you. And what I felt was this resonance, like I mentioned earlier, but it was immediate connection. You have this energy of, it's like an aura of positivity. And I just feel your commitment to just being all you can be. And that inspires me. And that's why I really wanted to bring you on this podcast. And you've experienced what many leaders and entrepreneurs go through, which is achieving something that looks like success, but on the outside, but doesn't really feel aligned on the inside. So can you share how you walked away from that company that you co-founded and, the dream that you had, on paper that looked successful? What was happening inside your heart, inside your head that really told you this is the time to leave, this is the time to let go? So can we start there?
Yeah, it's a great place to start. It was a tough time. I have always wanted to be an entrepreneur. That's been my dream for as long as I can remember. And I guess I didn't always say it out loud because I didn't actually know what it was at the time. But inside my heart, I knew that I was meant to be my own boss and have my own company. And so when a friend of mine had this amazing idea for a platform, and the platform is so incredible and his idea was amazing, he asked me to be a co-founder. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. It's happening. And it all seemed very aligned. It felt very cosmic. And it was my dream. And I was still working for Loop at the time. And I was just really excited because to me, I was like, oh my God, it's happening. It's happening. Everybody calm down. It's happening. And it was fun. But at the same time, there were little things that would happen. I think I had no issue with the platform itself. It was more of my relationship with my co-founder and the company. And it's just a culmination of small things that eventually led me to just having a general sense of anxiety about it, and not like the kind of stress that you would expect a founder would go through at the early stages of the company. It wasn't like, how are we going to get funding? It wasn't like, how are we going to build this product? It was anytime I would get a message from my co-founder, my cortisol would just spike through the roof. Like my heart rate was up. I was incredibly uncomfortable. I felt on the defensive all the time. I didn't feel heard. And so I think just the best way that I can describe it is it started to become a source of anxiety for me. It no longer became fun. It was no longer exciting. And so there was a bit of a paradox happening in my mind where I was like, okay, I really believe in this product and this is my dream. I've always wanted this. But at the same time, it's causing me so much distress. And it was very scary. This is not something that happened overnight where I made the choice. It was a long time of me thinking is the question I think I kept coming back to was, is it worth it? And
that's good.
With that actually came a lot of other fears and confrontations that I had to have with myself, because I had to really start to be like, okay, is it worth it to stay? Like, and then you sort of build a pro cons list in your head, right? You're like, I love the product. I think this is going to be major. I really believe in the mission and the values of the company. But is it worth my anxiety? And if I do step away, what does that mean? And then you start to get those other fears that come up out of the woodwork where it's like, let's say I step away and the company becomes amazing. Will I feel regret that I didn't get to be a part of that? And if I answer yes, I have to ask myself why. Am I going to feel regret because I lost out on a big opportunity to make lots of money and to have a big name and to be famous? Or am I going to have regrets because, again, it's an ego thing, right? Where I'm like, oh, well, they without me. And then I have to confront that. And that's like a whole other process. And so eventually for me, I had to work through these fears actively. And always the answer kept coming back to like, this just doesn't feel right. Like, this is not what my dream was. My dream was to build an incredible product alongside a team. And like, the dream was to make something that I came from our hearts, right? Like, you go through life and you experience so many different types of working environments, and everything you take away, you're always like, oh, if I could do it myself, I would do it this way. And that for me is like where it all has to come from. It has to come from that place of like love and like, why am I doing this? And if it's not the right environment, I also kind of had to take a step back and believe in myself and be like, there are other opportunities. Like, this is not the only thing that I have to hitch my boat to. Like, I'm a capable, smart person. I can figure this out and I can do something else that I'm more meant to do. And so I think in a way it was a blessing, because it's really opened up my life in a way that like, it's just more fun to live. And at the same time, I grew and became a better person out of it, because I recognized that I had all these fears and like all this ego that I had to dismantle and confront to take me to the next level.
And I just say yes, 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 like that. And partnerships are interesting. Partnerships, collaborations are interesting. And they teach us about ourselves, which is what happened to you. And I love that. And your willingness to look at the different angles of what that relationship represented was a very wise, bold, intuitive journey that you went on. And you also became very clear on what you wanted from having the willingness to look at what's not working, what's not right here. Yep. And you became more confident with that willingness. So I think you're bold. I think you're brave. But also, I think for every entrepreneur out there, whether they are a solo entrepreneur leading an organization that is successful, or if they're in partnership, it's very important that the core values align and the position to serve align. I mean, where you are now, that is what you experience, correct? With you're back with Loop. Let's just go here for a minute, because I met with your boss, Robin, yesterday, and it made my heart sing to hear the way that she leads her team and her position of service, and the reason why she does that. Now, tell me about the experience and the environment that you are currently positioned with Loop. So tell me what that feels versus, I mean,
so it's a clear contrast. I think it's very obvious. Like, I think being heard is probably like the biggest thing. Ironically, I had a much larger role as a co-founder, right? Like, you would expect that my opinions and my thoughts would carry half the weight. Whereas, I started at Loop as an office manager, so I was like kind of technically like low man on the totem pole. And because I was curious and I like to ask questions and I'm bored easily, so I tend to like to help out where I can, I started working in our marketing department and just helping out where I could, because I'm a writer and so they needed some help with copy and crazy. So things just like sort of grew from there. And even just that example, right, in and of itself, like, I'm just the office manager. Nobody had to listen to what I had to say. Nobody had to take anything. Like, they could have just been like, okay, cute, she wants to help out with marketing, like, whatever, maybe. But no, I mean, instead, like, I have credentials, but it still was, they didn't have to. And yet they did. And then when my boss started, we just happened to sit next to each other. And so we're, blabbing, getting to chat and starting to get to know each other. And I think really that's where it all started, is you get to know someone on a personal human level. And that shows so much more about them than anything work related. Like, I find that the coworkers that I know the best are the ones, not just that I know on a personal level, but it's because when you hear about their lives and their stories and just like the funny things that happened to them over the weekend, you start to parse out those intangible qualities that are difficult to identify during an interview. At least in my experience, like, you can't just straight up ask somebody like, oh, do you take initiative? Or are you curious? Or are you proactive? Like, people will say whatever. But when you get to know somebody on a personal level, you start to see those things in a person. And I think that by working with my boss and working with Robin and working with the team here, I think they heard some of those qualities just through actions and spending time together. And it's a much different experience when you feel safe, because I think being heard really like correlates to feeling safe in a workplace. And for me, something that's very important is that my workplace feels like home. I mean, just numerically speaking, you spend so much time at work. Like, I thought about the other day, I spend more time at my office than I do with my cats, which is a stat I don't love, but it's true. And so for me, it's important to feel at home here, and I can't do that without feeling safe. And for me, I think having a place to express myself openly without fear of rejection, or at least fear of getting my feelings hurt, makes such a difference, because then I can really become like and show my true potential.
And become more creative, more innovative, and it becomes more meaningful in the way that you serve. And I also really hear you say that you feel respected. And that's, to me, one of the most important things within an organization, to support people to expand their productivity, to expand their zone of genius and how they contribute to that end result within the organization. And you also mentioned that you feel appreciated. So can you share a little bit about that?
Yeah, I was going to say, I think lack of respect and lack of appreciation is like a cancer. It's not something that is an immediate like, oh, I'm not respected here, I have to go. It's one of those things that slowly builds resentment over time and will cause like a big drama situation. I think it's just been really, yes, it's interesting. Like I've been at big corporate companies where you feel hierarchy and you feel, I think that manifests in like you feel uncomfortable chatting to people outside of your department. You feel like nervous going into someone's office to be like, hey, quick question for you, like thoughts, you know what I'm saying? You like go with like shaking hands a little bit. Whereas where I currently work, it's much more fun. It's much more collaborative. And I think the sort of unique thing with Robin and I is she started a different role. And so when we started working together, it was much more collaborative. Like she wasn't technically my boss. There was an innate level of respect for sure. Like I recognized that she has an incredible career and that is absolutely to be respected. Like it was really, I think, just a learning experience. Like I just was working with her from a collaborative perspective. I was learning from her. I was asking a lot of questions. And it's like, that's not to say that there wasn't, you know, a level of like, I understand that she is at a different level. So I think from there, it really fostered like a great relationship, just like purely peer to peer. And then you would think that when I became her subordinate, like things got awkward and weird. But for me, I was like, oh my gosh, finally. Like I've been waiting for this to happen because it just made it felt so natural to go that way because I was already learning from her in that way. So like to be on her team actually was a step up for me because now she offered a layer of protection that I didn't have before. Like I knew that she was watching my six, that she had my back, that if anything were to ever happen, that like I could go to her and talk to her about it. And I had someone in my corner that I didn't have before on like a, you know, organizational level.
Absolutely. And, you know, it's this environment that's different. It's the atmosphere. And one of the things that Robin said that I just adored was that people work together and they giggle. I thought that was just absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's so many companies out there. And I really want our listeners to realize that if you are a beautiful young woman like Maddie that is looking to work for organizations that you feel honored, that you feel respected, that you feel appreciated, that you can learn and grow, evolve, and expand, they are out there. Well, Yelp is one of them, obviously. So I just really want to acknowledge that. And I just, you know, the other thing I want to acknowledge right now, Maddie, is within you. You have a strength within you that is truly the way I live too, which is to really make this decision in life. I call it thinking above the line. It is to have this sense of curiosity. You know, what can I learn? Who can I meet? You know, what's this podcast we're going to do? What's going to happen, right? So it's showing up with the open mind and an open heart and a curiosity and a state of wonder. I wonder what can be, rather than focusing below the line, which is focusing on the past or, you know, looking at that old company that didn't work out well. No, it's being decided that is how you function. And I know you do it personally and I know you do it professionally. So I just really want to honor you at this moment for making that decision. It's a big decision. It changes your life.
It really does. Absolutely. I think it, for me, like stemmed from the foundation that it was kind of a universal truth that I had to accept that life is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to feel easy. Not to say that there won't be challenging times, but it's supposed to flow. Like that word is so buzzwordy, but it's really the best way to describe it because when you're in that state, you really feel it. And I think I had to come to that term, which was like, if in fact, like I thought, I went to this really crazy fun thing called Lectures on Tap the other day, where you go to a bar and a professor lectures you, and it's great. It was on quantum physics, really, really incredible. But one of the things that he talks about, like, is that there are truths in physics, and so you have to assume that these assumptions are true. So for me, I had to assume that life is supposed to be fun and easy was a true assumption. And then once I accepted that as fact, everything else was really easy to make decisions on. And it was that acceptance that allows you to then sort of like make decisions. Because if you just keep going back to that universal truth, like if this doesn't fit in that category, then like, no, thank you.
And that is a profound wisdom, Maddie, at your age. Honestly, it is. And I believe, I know, I think, and I live that truth. And life is supposed to be lighter than what we think it is. Life is supposed to be simpler. I have a phrase that pays that I call it. It's called simplify to secure your success. And it's about letting go to lead. So it's about releasing things that what I call are the clutter. So, this journey of self-discovery that you have been on is just incredible. And how do you stay grounded and connected to your own truth when the world rewards this performance over authenticity? I mean, this is a fascinating question to me because being genuine, being real, being in presence is a significant skill and decision to be decided in that. Yeah. So what grounds you and connects you to your own truth?
This was very challenging for me. This was something that I still feel like I work on every day. I'm a bit of an overachiever, and I think like coupled with that feeling like I'm never enough, leads me to fill that void with accomplishments. So that's sort of like how I have thus far in life sort of like made my identity is around achievements. So being grounded in that truth it took a long time to like rewire my brain, because even when I started my podcast, you know, I think any entrepreneur, right? Like you go into a venture and you're like, I don't really want this to be successful. And successful typically means money. And so in a podcast, like I set crazy expectations for myself. I was like, oh, I'm going to pop off in a year. Like I'm going to have thousands of Instagram followers. I'm going to quit my full-time job. Like I'm going to be making bank. My parents are going to love me. And that was how I thought. And then like, you know, inevitably you learn that entrepreneurship is not about the destination. It's about the journey. And you really have to love the journey in order. Yeah, like it really is a long-term journey. It's not something that it's not how people talk about it on podcasts or on social media where they're like, I started my business and now I'm, you know, working from Barbados for the week because I can. Like that's just, it's a journey, and you really have to love the grind of that journey and find fun in that. And so I had to, again, like spend a lot of time deconstructing why I felt the way that I felt about what success was. And eventually, I think I came to this place where blind faith became like my greatest. Faith is becoming incredibly important to me as I get older. I am very attracted to faith-driven people. I find them to be very strong individuals. And so I think like what I'm trying to say is faith has been my guiding force. And I just have to sort of navigate that. So like if faith is my compass and I'm going through a forest, you got to go around all these trees, right? And these trees are moments where you're like, I'm not successful enough. I got to be doing this. And then you're like, okay, I could, but that doesn't align with what my ethos is. Like if I give the podcast example, right? Like I should be making money. Yeah, you're right. I could do a bunch of sponsorship. I could take ads. Like that's the easy choice. But to me, that's not why I do what I do. And to me, it's disruptive. So like I got to go around that, you know? and I gotta stay in that truth. And I think when life gets sticky and I start to get down on myself, I go back to faith, and it's what feeds is positive feedback loop. I think if I could give a more tangible advice to those listening, honestly, I just got to disconnect. Like, my best way to refresh is truly either to go camping and literally be on like do not disturb, turn airplane mode on, like don't talk to me, or I go to Disneyland and I reintegrate with my like childhood self, and we just have nonsense, silly fun, and that really like helps to recharge my battery so I can go back to work and be an adult. So it's kind of like I have to disconnect, I think, to stay with that. But at the root of it all is just this blind faith that it all has to work out. Like I work hard, so it has to pay off somehow.
Love it. You're so wise for your years. I'm going to say that again. So the one thing that you brought that I find very fascinating that I am curious about intensely right now is this idea of our identity and the transition from an identity that is against us to transition to making that decision and be decided into making those decisions for us. And so that's what you have been doing. And it's leading into my next piece that I think is so important in life is for us to have those rituals, those grounding, secure, consistent, healthy rituals that can create that moral compass for us to have the strength of character to be the leader, the love-inspired leader that we know we are. And, you know, for you, it's nature too, because that's you going, I call it nature's nourishment. I go on my jaunts every day. I love them. I do my yoga. I journal. I do things that add to my life, and that's what you're doing. So I just want the audience to realize that this concept of being curious about your current identity and what can be from that is something that's important to take a look at, to look in the mirror.
Yeah.
To make some new decisions.
You also bring up a good point. I should also mention that if somebody's just starting on this journey, like they got to do the journaling, because that I got to owe a big portion of that, of like where I'm at today because of that. Did the artist way. That's where I really discovered the practice of journaling. You gotta do it. Like she suggests that you do it first thing in the morning, brain dump before anything else. 3 full pages. And that is hard. 3 full pages is hard. Because I just do one. I do it every day. I call it Carolyn's Insights and Sacred Truths. I've been doing it for years because she inspired me too. I think she's a magnificent soul. And I was writing those 1 pages for my children who are 25 and 28 so they could know who I am. And it's all what I did is journaled about where things were hard, the solution, the antidote, and then what they can do with that. So to me, and you need a reason though, don't you, Maddie? Like it's a decision. Yeah, so the artist way was like what really kicked it off for me. And through that, I realized why it was so important. And it's funny because I would just, you know, at the end of the day, I'd be like, this is what I did today. And then a page and a half in, I'd be like, oh my God, and that's that childhood wound. And that's why I do this. And like, oh, I get it now. And it's that, I think, is when you really start to discover the beauty of journaling. And to me, this was like my safe space where I said to myself, like, if I cannot be honest with myself in this journal, I sure can't be honest anywhere else in my life. And like, I cannot be scared of myself I need to switch that up, because you can't rely on somebody else to give you what you need. You have to be able to give that to yourself. And you can't do that if you're scared of what you are, your own thoughts. You kind of just have to like be okay with spitting it out on a page, looking at it, and then being like, okay, that's how I feel. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just like, where do we go from here? Like you said, it's a solution. Like, how do I deal with this? What do I do with this information? And without that practice, for sure, I would not be where I am today.
Exactly. And it's taking on this commitment for oneself. Taking on the responsibility for your own joy. It is taking on the responsibility to really nurture and nourish the love you have in your life.
Yeah.
And, I always say, love is all there is, really, really. And the fear, the doubt, the anxiety, the resentment, the blame, the regret, the lack are all below the line, which is not in alignment with what love is, what love does, and what love represents. And you've made this incredible, courageous exploration to step up, what I call show up and speak up and take your life in your own hands and know that you can track. It's faith within yourself that you're going to keep growing. You have elevated this level of trust within yourself to accomplish a life that's fun. That's what you said in the beginning, and I love that too. So the last question that I want to say is, so you're the host of this extraordinary podcast that I had the honor of being interviewed by you, and where you explore entrepreneurship and self-discovery. How is hosting that and these type of conversations and where you've gone on your journey with guests with that, how has that deepened your own love-inspired leadership journey?
I think it's directly related for a couple reasons. First of all, I wouldn't have started it if I didn't seriously think about my future. I started it in a place where I was unemployed before I started working for Loop, and I was just trying to find a job because I had just moved to San Francisco, and that's what you do. And just nothing was working. Like, it just wasn't working. I was just getting constant rejections, and I was getting so fed up with the whole process. And through that, I was like, there has to be a reason for this. Like, why am I not getting hired? It doesn't make sense. And when I thought about, like, why? What is the reason for that? What am I meant to be doing that I'm not doing? Like, clearly I'm not meant to be hired right now because the universe is telling me that very clearly. So, like, what the hell am I supposed to be doing? And that was I think when it came to me, and I was like, oh, I should probably think about what I want out of life. Like, why am I just looking for a random job? I should probably think about, where do I want to go with my life? And that I started to think about, like, what do I really care about? Like, what am I passionate about that has not stopped? And for me, that's always been entrepreneurialism. It's something that I'm deeply obsessed with. Like, genuinely, I'm obsessed with it. It brings me crazy amounts of like caffeine naturally. It's just something that I want to talk about nonstop. And when I realized that, that was what gave me the idea for the podcast. And so I think that it gave me an outlet. It gave me a direction. It gave me purpose. And it's not, I've tried so many things in life too. I feel like I should also mention that. Like, I've tried so many different things. I've tried to be an author. I've tried to be an influencer. I've tried to be like a corporate girly. I've tried to do so many things, and they just all naturally came to an end because it wasn't meant to be. And with this so far, like, the momentum has not died down in the least. And in fact, it just brings me so much joy and excitement all the time. So I feel like it is really representative of my journey in life, and it is definitely like a microcosm for life, I think. And it's just it challenges me, it pushes me, but it also grounds me and it gives me a sense of direction. It is also just like really fun.
Exactly. And that's one of your core values is
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
So congratulations to you.
Thank
for
you.
stepping up on that. I mean, that's such a bold, courageous move, and you're loving it.
Yeah. And
Knowing the journey, you're loving it. And
for sure.
so my last question is this. So if our listeners were to take one small but powerful step towards living in alignment today, what would you invite them to do?
I would do a life audit. I love a life audit. I would sit down with a cup of tea or a glass of wine, whatever your juice is. I'm a sparkling water kind of girl. And I would seriously write down the parts of my life that are so fun, that I love, that I like to say fill my cup, that leave you feeling energized. And then on the converse, look at the things that you find draining, because that is like the easiest and the most obvious way to look at what's not working. And then the next step is very easy. It's just to focus more on the things that bring you joy, like, and release the things that don't. It sounds overly simple, but like, to be honest, it just is that simple. And sometimes I would get really frustrated when somebody would tell, like during my self-development journey, I would get really frustrated with when people would say something like that, because you're like, okay, well, I can't just like not pay my bills, I can't just like not work. And you're like, yes, but there's a way to do work that's fun and fulfilling and energizing. Like it is overly simple. Like it just is. Life is supposed to be fun, and so you just make that choice to do so.
You do. And I did exactly the same thing, only in business. So I wrote on the left-hand side of a piece of paper, I drew a line down the middle. I mean, this is actually the results I got. It was absolutely miraculous. So I thought, okay, I'm fed up. I don't want to be drained anymore. I don't want to do the things I don't want to do. I don't want to be frustrated. I don't want to be on Canva for 4 hours and go down this rabbit hole and do nothing. So what am I going to do? Okay, so that's it, Carolyn. That's it. Okay, so I drew a line down the page. Left-hand side, I created a love it list. So what do I love to do? I love to do this, what we're doing right now. I love to connect with people. I love to witness people and transforming their lives and be this global messenger is my job with the podcast and speaking and my masterminds and training. So, okay, that's what I love. So what frustrates me? What drains me? So over a 2-month period, I had both lists, and I would do it in the moment. Think, oh, okay, no, this isn't enjoyable right now. Put it on the list.
Yeah.
Put it on the list. So I call that my let go list. Mm. So then I decided, well, why don't I find a virtual assistant who can do all these things that have to be done? And within 2 weeks, she showed up on an event that I facilitated and hosted. And she wrote a vision and a goal to work with a purpose-driven client. Well, that's me. She looks after now, has for 4.5 years, everything I don't want to do. Everything, absolutely everything. So I have the freedom to do what I love to do all the time. It is wonderful. So it's exactly what you're saying, is do a life audit and also do a business audit. Mm-hmm. I think that's a great idea. So let's just wrap here. But Maddie, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, your heart, and your incredible, bold journey with such honesty and courage. I really respect you for that. And your story really resonates with and reminds me of what this entire podcast is about. Love-inspired leadership. And it begins with a willingness to choose us. It's a willingness to choose ourselves and walk on our own path, no matter how hard it looks on the external. It's that internal voice of wisdom. It's listening. It's asking for what we want. It's receiving that support. It's having the willingness to keep moving forward. And that's been your life. So for our listeners, reflect on this. What's one belief you need to unlearn to live a more loving and authentic life or in your business? So that question comes directly from Maddie. So I hope it sparks a new level of awareness for you today. And thank you for tuning in to the Love Inspired Leadership Podcast. And if this episode spoke to your heart and resonated with you deeply within, please, join us here consistently. We have a new podcast coming out every week. And if you know someone who really needs to hear Maddie's story, share the episode with them and keep leading with love and keep this love in motion because it's meant to be. So thank you, Maddie, and wishing you extraordinary success with your podcast and all those endeavors that you dream of and manifest for yourself.
Thank you for having me. It's been a wonderful experience. I'm grateful. I hope that this reaches the right people. And I likewise wish you nothing but the best.
Yay. Thank you. Until next time. Thank you for joining me on the Love Inspired Leadership Podcast. If today's episode stirred something in your soul, share it with someone who's ready to aim higher. Keep holding your vision, anchor in your truth, and take intentional, inspired action, because love is all there is.
Hey, I'm Michelle Abraham, founder of the High Vibe Podcast Network, and we are honored to have Carolyn Cooper's Love Inspired Leadership show as part of our network family. For more inspiring shows like this one, visit highvibepodcastnetwork.com, and don't forget to grab your free gifts from our hosts in the gift fold. Till then, stay high vibe and keep sharing your life.